All right, everyone. Welcome to Dispatches from the Field. So happy that you could join us today. If you are new to Dispatches, this is a phenomenal online platform that is really designed to connect our global community together in an easy online way so that people from all over the world can join and hear from remarkable featured speakers and connect with other members. So we are going to hear from a remarkable speaker today, and then we're going to break out into what we call campfire sessions, which are breakout groups where you get the chance to connect and meet with other members, and who knows what could happen from there. Today is a very special one. We kicked off the 2026 season of Dispatches learning about the art of storytelling, led by Rachel Rudwall. We're going to continue that thread today, and we're going to dive into art. Where would we be without art in our lives? And art is essential to exploration because it translates what we discover into something that we can all feel and remember and share, and it's timeless. Today, we are joined by visual artist, photographer, and filmmaker Bill Claps. He explores diverse geographies and ecosystems to discover universal visual themes and the connections that run across cultures. As you'll hear in his presentation, he's got several different artistic projects going on, including Natural Abstractions, which I'm a big fan of, a series inspired by traditional Chinese and Japanese landscape painting that features fleeting, luminous qualities of light in nature. And it really reminds us of the natural world's impermanence and its magic. So, Bill, welcome and take it away.
All right. Thanks, Brandy. Thanks for that introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. I'm also honored to be able to speak in front of such a accomplished group of people. So it's an honor, it's a pleasure, and hopefully we'll have some fun today. So this presentation is going to be very visual. There's some video. First, a little about me. You just got the introduction. I'm here in my studio in New York City. I'm a visual artist. This is the office of my studio. I also have two other spaces here where I work. I'm in Long Island City, which is, let's see, just across the river from New York City. So this is the 59th Street Bridge. And I'm right across from the UN. So here in New York, I spend probably 4 or 5 months a year here. I'm traveling quite often for projects and also doing exhibitions around the world. And I also have a studio in Italy, in Val Camonica, in the Italian Alps, where I spend about 4 months a year. And I'm going to talk a little about that also. So let's just jump into it. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can you see that? Is it full screen? Okay, great. So art as exploration. So today I'm going to give you a little historical context of explorers as artists, talk a little about my background in artistic practice, and then I'm going to talk about a couple of projects I've been working on. One is this Endangered Plants project, and another one is a Sacred Mountains project. And I've been working on the mountains project around the world, but in particular, there's two places I'm focused on right now, Val Camonica, Italy, and Tsushima Island, Japan, where I train martial arts in the month of April every year, and am setting up an artist residency together with senseis and takais, a 13th generation samurai. So explorers as artists. There's a long history of explorers being artists and using art as part of their communication. Like Alexander von Humboldt, father of the environmental movement, he was a good artist. This is his drawing on the right, showing the vegetation rings at different elevations around the world. He was the first person to discover that. Charles Darwin, we all know him. He used a lot of art in his diaries. He kept a lot of diaries, this famous Tree of Life sketches. And he was quite a good draftsman, as you can see. On the James Cook expeditions, over 11 years, there were a lot of botanists and artists on the expeditions, including Sidney Parkinson and William Ellis. These are some of their drawings. They discovered a lot of new species, or discovered, or shall we say, documented. Sidney Parkinson, we did a presentation at the club about 2 weeks ago about him. I did not see it. I heard it was a good one though. So that's the historical background. Art has always been a part of exploration. So now a little about me, my background, how I got started. This is a picture of me, age 15, sophomore year in high school, receiving my Eagle Scout Award with my family. There's my grandmother, our family priest in the back. So I was always into nature and the outdoors. I always loved art, and I loved martial arts. And through the martial arts, I developed an interest in Asian culture. So as a kid, I watched a lot of kung fu movies. Bruce Lee was my hero. A lot. I spent Saturday mornings watching these films. Fury of the Shaolin Temple, War in the Shaolin Temple, all about the Shaolin Temple. So this stuck with me and was kind of instrumental in bringing me forward in a lot of ways. So where I started wrestling and judo. I wrestled in high school and in college. Also practiced kung fu after college, and some boxing. And after college, I saved up money, and at age 25, I spent a year exploring in Asia. This is us on Shan Mountain in Sichuan province with the foothills of the Himalayas behind us. It's one of the five Buddhist holy mountains. That's me on the left when I still had hair. Um, and this is the first Buddhist mountain that I've documented. And I'm doing a series of all five Buddhist mountains. I'll talk about that in a second. I also made the pilgrimage to Shaolin Monastery, which was the birthplace of Kung Fu. It was one of the reasons I did this trip to Asia. This is an amazing place where Buddhism came to China from India first, and spent some time there. And all this really got me started on this series that I've been working on for the last maybe 14 or 15 years, Natural Abstractions. And it's an homage to Asian landscape painting, Chinese and Japanese landscape painting, and Japanese prints. In the series, I'm recreating the feeling of natural light in nature. How if you look at a tree, it looks one way in the morning, afternoon, and evening, always changing. And that's what I'm doing with the artwork, which is very hard to do with the static artwork. But my work changes as the light of the day changes. And I do that with reflective materials, gold and silver foils, metallic foils. And so I developed this process. It's unique. I'm the only person doing it. It combines photography, so my photographs, which I take, then I paint on top of it, print, do this process with the foil. So I'm going to do a quick video here. It describes the process, and it'll give you a better sense of what I'm doing. Over the past 6 years, I've traveled around the world, searching for nature imagery and landscapes for the mixed media artworks in my Natural Abstractions series, which capture the spirit of classical Chinese painting and Japanese woodblock prints, using contemporary materials and processes. I use a unique process I developed that combines photography, printing, painting, and digital processes to create works that are my contemporary interpretation of nature motifs and imagery that have been created by generations of Asian artists. I'm trying to recreate how natural light continually changes in nature. Because of the reflective quality of the works change constantly, all day long, as the quality of the light changes. I've been very much influenced by traditional Chinese landscape painting and the Asian aesthetic and sense of space. When I was a teenager, I was obsessed with martial arts and was very interested in Asian culture. I practiced wrestling and judo and a little kung fu, and was drawn to the discipline and spiritual element of the practice. When I was 25, I spent a year exploring in Asia. In China, I climbed the Buddhist holy mountain of Shan and visited Shaolin Monastery, the birthplace of Kung Fu. I really felt something special in these mountains, and the experience made a huge impression on me. This past year, I've had the opportunity to show my artworks in a series of exhibitions in Beijing and Hangzhou, China, and in Japan, where I was invited for a 2-month artist residency on the rural volcanic island of Kyushu. In Japan, I shot in the rice fields, mountains, and bamboo forests, and at Buddhist and Shinto temples throughout the country. It's been a really inspiring year for me, and since I've returned, I've been working hard in the studio, using these photos as source images for a whole new series of my mixed media artworks. Okay, so that's a little background of my artistic practice. And so what I've been doing, I've been going to places around the world and doing regionally focused projects. And I get hired by galleries or commissioned to do different projects with different people. While I'm doing the particular project I'm commissioned for, I also have two kind of passion projects. One is this rare plant project. The other one is this sacred mountain project. So I try and combine all three if I can. I'll talk a little right now about this Floor on the Edge project. So what I'm trying to do is raise awareness of environmental issues, and I'm focusing on rare plant species that are on the brink of extinction. These two are from the Humboldt rainforest in Cuba, largest rainforest in the Caribbean, where 96% of the plants are endemic to that area and very subject to a lot of development in the area. So a lot of these plants could become extinct very quickly. And so what I'm showing is a positive and a negative version. On the left is the positive version. On the right is a negative version. This concept of yin and yang, also male and female in Japanese, runs through my work. In this case, I'm showing a fossilized version of something that's not yet extinct. That's the idea of the one on the right. So I'm going to give you a quick overview. This is from the Humboldt rainforest in Cuba. I thought it would be really interesting to shoot in the largest rainforest in the Caribbean, a place where 90% of the plant species are endemic to the specific area, not found anywhere else in the world.
El pino maestrense vive en la Sierra Maestra. Cocotrina Alexander.
With this series, I create images that feel to me like a fossilized record, but of something that's currently alive, but very quickly could become just a memory. So that's the idea, a fossilized version of something that's not yet extinct. So that hopefully drives home this story. And I've been doing this in a lot of places around the world. This is, and what I try and do is I try and connect with a university, with botanists, or and get on an expedition. This is a project I did with Arnold Arboretum at Harvard University in Boston. This was with the Biodiversity Museum at the University of British Columbia. I went on one of their expeditions. We found the Bidens amplissima, a very rare plant, which was fun to do. And this is also from the Arboretum, this version of fossilized version of something that could become extinct. So that's the idea with that series. This last one was a project I did in the Engadine Valley in Switzerland for a gallery in San Moritz, where I shot for a month all the nature in the valley and did a show. So that brings us over to the Sacred Mountains project, the second project, and the one that I'm really working on the most right now. The idea is that I'm going to holy mountains around the world that are held sacred by indigenous people, places that are spiritually charged, portals that connect, the heavens and the earth in their traditions. And then documenting and doing this series. So this one, I did a series in Georgia. I was sponsored by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism, and I did a project in Svaneti. It's in the border with Russia, very mountainous area. And then I did a show at the MoMA Tbilisi, Georgia, which was a really big show and a really cool place. That was a fun project. This is part of my Holy Mountains project. So I'm documenting the 5 Buddhist holy mountains of China. I've done 4 so far. Every time I do a show in China, I then go for a couple of weeks, climb the mountain, shoot, and get prepared for the next show. And then when I finish all 5, I'm doing a show of all 5 mountains in China. This was a project I was hired by the Kumamoto Prefecture government in Japan to do. They're doing a bid for UNESCO World Heritage. So I spent 2 months in Kyushu, shooting around. I thought we're the largest volcano and the largest volcanic caldera in the world is. I thought I would do it about volcanoes. It turned out to be a project about the rice harvest. And you saw some of the images before. The rice harvest being a Shinto sacred time, and then which goes into sumo wrestling, which is part of the Shinto tradition, and we're getting into that in a second. So I got it really involved into that culture. This is a project I did in British Columbia. This is from the Squamish National Territories, and this is from the Switzerland project. So mountains in the Alps. That's a transition to my next project, and where I'm spending 4 months a year is in Val Camonica, Italy. I have a studio there. Val Camonica is dominated by these 2 sacred mountains, Piso Badile and the Concorena. And it's the location of the greatest concentration of ancient rock art in the world. They found over 300,000 petroglyphs representing 12,000 years of history. It's an amazing place. It's UNESCO's first World Heritage Site in Italy, before the Colosseum, to show you how important it is. But the interesting thing is a lot of people don't know about it. It's the best kept secret in Italy. And I've been going to Italy for 40 years and I never heard about it. I write for an Italian art magazine, and my colleagues who are writers and cultured people, half of them have never heard of it. So it's unspoiled, very few tourists. It's between Lake Garda and Lake Como, about 2 hours from Milan. And I'm very interested in the symbols there, and I'm doing projects around symbols and particularly the triangle, which I'm very interested in, and how that links also to Japanese culture. And so the triangle, this idea of the tripartite concept came from here, which was the core of Indo-European ideology. This idea of sky, earth, and the underworld as a triangle. And it was co-opted like a lot of pagan knowledge by the Catholic Church, became the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the triangle mother, Jesus, Mary, Joseph. So you see the triangle a lot. Also in Renaissance art, you see the triangle, the structure of paintings. And in fact, in a lot of my works, I use that triangle also. So for me, it's really interesting. Here's a little introduction to my studio. So where I'm doing, the idea of the studio is I'm doing collaborative artworks with artists from around the world that have similar interests to me, in archaeology, symbolism, and this kind of thing. So this is a quick introduction. So this is my new studio in Val Camonica, in the town of Bieno, in the Italian Alps. And this is a 500-year-old iron forge. And we form the metal and finish. So this canal powers the turbines up and down the valley. This is Swiss Alps, which are about two hours north of here. And this is a larch tree in Val Fez. So these are works based on some of the rock carvings in the valley here. And this is the Rosa Comuna, which is also the symbol of Lombardy, this region. And they're not sure what this symbol actually means. And there are over 300,000 rock carvings that have been discovered in this valley. And archaeologists think there are many, many more. And it's the greatest concentration of rock art of anywhere in the world. And these carvings describe the lives and the spiritual practices of the people. Very interesting place. Camilo's looking at some of the oldest representation of landscape art in the world. So these designs represent land holdings and maps of this whole valley. As well as astrological signs, which is called the Rosa Camuno. A Bern per 10 giorni abbiamo fatto una serie di...
A Vienna abbiamo riflettuto su dei progetti.
We're in Vienna, Italy, and this is the exhibition Riflessioni Alpine, Alpine Reflections. And it's a series of collaborations I did with Swiss artist Simon Berger, both in Switzerland and in Italy. And we did a series of iconic Swiss mountains, 8 mountains, where we worked on glass and with painting and this mixed media foils, gold and silver foils. And this work is another iconic mountain in Switzerland, the Matterhorn. The opposite side is Cervenia in Italy. And these photographs, it's a series of 6 photographs of the collaboration we did in Val Camonica last year during the equinox on September 22nd. And these are looking through the glass after the work was made. And they're called paesaggi immaginari, so imaginary landscapes. So as you move, the idea is that your perspective changes continuously, and as the weather changes, as your position changes, just like in nature, you look at a landscape, it's continually changing. These works do the same thing. So that's my collaboration with some artists in Val Camonica, and Simon Berger. I've worked with him a bit. I'm also working with Sensei Zen Sakai, who you saw at the end of this project, at the end of the video. And I've been training with him on this island, Tushima Island in Japan. I spend Aprils there. It's an amazing place. It's very important to Japanese culture and history. A lot of the Shinto myths of the origin myths of Japan came from this island and the 2 islands next to it. But even before Shinto, there was a female shamanistic culture on the island. Also, the next island over is in Korea, is Jeju-do Island. They also have female shamans. So that's super interesting. There's archaeological sites that have not been excavated all over this island, which is 90% forested. And so I'm planning some projects there also. And we're located between Korea and Japan, actually a little closer to Korea than Japan. It's also important to samurai history because, as you can see geographically, it was the place where the Koreans would invade into Japan, and that happened so many times. It was also the place where the Mongols tried to invade, and they were repelled by the Japanese samurai on this island. So it's really important also to samurai history, which is why Zen Takai set up this martial arts school, and we're acquiring a high school this spring. The town gave us an entire high school with 60 rooms in it to set up the school, and also to set up an artist residency, which I'm in charge of doing. So the triangle symbol is really important also in Japanese culture, and I'm studying this with Zen. He's been to my studio in Italy, and I've spent time in Japan. In martial arts, the triangle, it means irimi, which is entering. So it's the idea of stepping into space, so initiating the action. So, when 2 people come together, when the action's initiated, it's like, bam. In sumo wrestling, you see the 2 guys come together, and that's really evident. And also in every other martial art, step into the space and make something happen. So this next video, last video, and this will conclude my presentation. It's talks about the school that we have, the martial arts school, and the training that we're doing on this island in the culture.
Infatti, dito ko na ikaw. Skill semba.
Let's go!
USA 乾杯!
So this is what I do for a living. And as you can see, I have a lot of fun doing it. So that concludes the presentation part. Thank you.
Bill, thank you. Thank you so much. I've been fortunate enough to be familiar with your work, but to really see how and why and what is informing your work really brought it to life so much more. And the triangle is, with it feels to me like representative through all of your work is that balance that the triangles that you spoke of between time, light, these rare plants, are they alive? Are they fossilized? Are they endangered? Is it present? Is it past? And you work so well within that dynamic of the triangle and capturing that. It's really, really beautiful. Um, what are some of really quick before we go into some of the campfire sessions, what are some of the other influences? I mean, I can see the influence on some of your own personal interests that have come into your work. Are there any other sort of artistic influences or archaeological influences that have also come into play?
I'm really into art history and history in general. And so a lot of my influence comes from art history. And if you can see behind me, this is a whole nother series from way before. This is and also language. I'm interested in language as a kind of marker of culture. This is series I did about art speak, about the language in the art world, how it's used as a marketing tool rather than to illuminate people. And then I translate it into Morse code. And these are egregious examples of art speak from art publications, but translate into Morse code. And this idea of language is interesting to me, language as the communication tool. Also, this idea of gold. I did a whole series. I got into using reflective metals through, I did a series of icons, and I did a show at the Palazzo Corsini Gallery in a museum in Rome, where I took icons from Middle Ages Italian and compared them to icons, Russian icons from the Hermitage. So this idea of how it's interpreted, and also the use of gold as a marker of importance is important in my work. So this idea of gold in history, reflecting metals. So now I'm working with a lot of metals. I'm starting in my new series in Italy. I'm working on aluminum and other metals. I'm working in an iron forge, which is interesting. My family has a history of ironworking. My grandfather was a blacksmith, actually, in Italy at the turn of the century. And so my family then, for 4 generations in the U.S., after they came here, they were into steelwork, ironworking, and recycling. So, and I've worked in steel yards and export facilities for steel. So I've been around metals my whole life. So it's interesting that I was offered this studio for a number of years by the town of Bieno. It's actually a museum owned by the town that they give to artists to do projects. And so it's an iron forge. So it's a working iron forge. Well, it was a working iron forge, but it's completely renovated. So all those hammers you saw used to work in the 15th century. And we have an air compression system that was designed by Leonardo da Vinci that I have in my studio. So mine is in a museum that doesn't work. There's actually a working forge in the town. So I'm going to be working with steel now, and iron and aluminum, and just doing a lot of experimenting with different artists, and also bringing Zen Takai back to work with me. He came He's also an artist. I didn't mention that. With as a samurai, there's like 16 arts, including dance, singing, painting. So he's actually a master calligraphist, and he wants to develop his creative and artistic side more. So we're working on that together and working on some projects and plan to bring some other artists in.
The interconnectivity of how you weave your work together is really, really exceptionally beautiful and meaningful. And even down to the application of metals to these rare plants, you're giving it that importance
Yeah.
that they deserve. Thank you, Bill, so much. We can't wait
Sure.
to follow your work. Hang tight, everyone. We're going to split up into the campfire sessions so that we can really dig in.